Welcome to Demolition Worker. Today we explore a massive airplane graveyard where nature has completely destroyed a beautiful modern flying machine. The Middle Eastern sun beats down relentlessly on this vast expanse of silent metal giants resting quietly in the endless dry desert. Among these decaying relics sits a surprisingly intact Boeing 777 that looks completely ready to take off into the blue sky. However, this magnificent aircraft will never fly again because a catastrophic weather event has permanently grounded it in this desolate sandy wasteland. A massive sandstorm of unprecedented scale swept through this region, bringing millions of tons of abrasive particles straight into the parked airplane. The relentless wind carried sharp silica grains that acted like heavy sandpaper, aggressively stripping away the protective paint and shiny outer coating. We can see the exposed aluminum skin now heavily pitted and scarred by the brutal force of that incredibly violent desert storm. The massive jet engines, once marvels of modern engineering, are now completely choked with fine sand that destroyed their delicate internal turbine. Every single crevice of this giant machine became a trap for the blowing sand, slowly filling the empty spaces inside the wings. The extreme environmental conditions here demonstrate how quickly nature can overcome even the most advanced and durable human creations in existence today. Our demolition team has arrived with heavy equipment to carefully dismantle this ruined airplane and salvage whatever valuable materials might still remain. We position our massive hydraulic excavators around the fuselage, preparing to make the very first cuts into the damaged metal outer shell. As the powerful steel jaws pierce the aircraft cabin, an unbelievable amount of trapped sand begins pouring out from the broken ceiling. It literally looks like a golden waterfall of dry sand cascading down from the sky onto the dusty ground right below us. The sheer volume of sand hidden inside the walls of this airplane is absolutely staggering and makes our demolition work extremely dangerous. Our operators must wear protective masks and goggles because the falling sand creates thick clouds of dust that make breathing very difficult. We continue cutting through the main fuselage, watching as entire sections collapse under the immense weight of the accumulated desert sand inside. The heavy machinery struggles slightly as the abrasive dust swirls around the construction site, threatening to enter the sensitive engine intake valves. Suddenly, our primary excavator stops moving as the operator notices a significant drop in hydraulic pressure near the main lifting arm joint. The ultra-fine desert sand has managed to penetrate the protective seals of the hydraulic cylinders, causing severe internal friction and damage. This is the exact same abrasive material that destroyed the airplane, and now it is actively attacking our expensive heavy demolition equipment. We are forced to temporarily halt all cutting operations to perform emergency maintenance on the excavator before the engine fails completely today. Our mechanics work quickly under the hot sun to clean the contaminated hydraulic fluid and replace the ruined rubber seals right away. This unexpected delay proves just how incredibly destructive this specific type of fine desert sand can be to any complex mechanical system. After several hours of careful repairs, the excavator is finally ready to resume the incredibly challenging task of dismantling the giant airplane. We approach the massive tail section next, using a specialized hydraulic shear to carefully slice through the thick vertical stabilizer structure slowly. More hidden pockets of sand burst open, raining down upon the metal debris and making the sorting process much more complicated later. The landing gear assemblies are extremely heavy and require two separate machines working together to safely detach them from the main body. Even the thick steel struts of the landing gear show signs of severe pitting from the relentless high-speed sandstorm wind impacts. We carefully extract the massive rubber tires, which are surprisingly still inflated despite being buried under layers of hot desert sand forever. Moving to the wings, we discover that the internal fuel tanks are completely packed solid with tightly compressed fine red desert sand. The weight of this trapped sand makes lifting the wing sections incredibly dangerous, as the metal could easily snap under the tension. Our skilled operators use extreme caution, making small strategic cuts to slowly release the trapped sand before attempting to move the wing. It takes hours of meticulous work just to safely separate the right wing from the central fuselage without causing a structural collapse. The ground is now completely covered in jagged pieces of torn aluminum, mixed heavily with thousands of pounds of intrusive desert sand. We must separate the valuable aerospace-grade aluminum from the worthless sand before we can send anything to the local recycling facility. This presents a massive environmental and logistical challenge because melting aluminum that is heavily contaminated with silica sand creates dangerous chemical reactions. If we simply throw the sandy metal into the melting furnace, the resulting impurities will completely ruin the entire batch of aluminum. Therefore, we have set up a specialized industrial washing station right here in the desert to thoroughly clean every single metal piece. High-pressure water jets blast the stubborn sand away from the aluminum surfaces, revealing the shiny metal that was hidden underneath previously. The dirty water is carefully collected and filtered in a closed-loop system to conserve precious resources in this extremely dry environment. We watch as the clean pieces of aerospace aluminum travel up a long conveyor belt toward the massive industrial shredding machine nearby. The powerful shredder easily chews through the thick metal plates, reducing the once proud airplane into small uniform chunks of shiny scrap. These small aluminum chunks are much easier to transport and will melt significantly faster when they finally reach the recycling furnace tomorrow. Meanwhile, the demolition crew continues to battle the elements as the afternoon wind begins to pick up, blowing more sand around us. We must secure all the loose debris quickly before another unpredictable desert storm decides to roll in and ruin our progress today. The sheer scale of this Boeing aircraft means that even with our heavy machinery, the entire demolition process will take several weeks. Every single day presents a new, unique challenge as we uncover more unexpected damage caused by the extreme forces of Mother Nature. Inside the massive passenger cabin, the luxurious seats and overhead bins have been completely destroyed by the abrasive intrusion of blowing sand. We use a smaller specialized loader to carefully scoop out the ruined interior components and separate the plastics from the valuable metals. The cockpit area is especially heartbreaking to dismantle, as the complex flight instruments are completely buried under a thick layer of dust. The glass windshields, designed to withstand bird strikes at high speeds, are completely frosted over and ruined by the relentless blowing sand. We carefully remove the heavy flight data recorders, hoping they might still contain useful information despite the severe environmental damage they suffered. As the sun begins to set over the vast airplane graveyard, the skeletal remains of the Boeing cast long, eerie shadows everywhere. The stark contrast between human engineering and the raw power of the desert environment is truly a humbling sight to behold today. We pack up our tools and secure the heavy machinery, making sure to cover the sensitive engine intakes to prevent sand damage. The next morning, we return to the site and immediately notice that the overnight winds have deposited a fresh layer of sand. It feels like a constant, endless battle against the desert, as if the environment is actively trying to reclaim this massive airplane. We fire up the massive excavators again, the deep roar of diesel engines breaking the quiet silence of the early morning desert. Today, our main focus is completely dismantling the massive jet engines, which contain some of the most valuable titanium alloys on Earth. The outer engine cowlings are carefully removed, exposing the intricate network of pipes and wires that once powered this massive flying machine. As expected, the internal turbine blades are completely jammed with compacted sand, making it impossible for them to ever spin freely again. We use heavy-duty pneumatic tools to break apart the tough titanium casing, slowly revealing the incredibly complex internal geometry hidden inside. The mechanics must constantly pause to clear away the sand that falls into their tools, slowing down the entire engine dismantling process. Despite the constant challenges, our experienced crew works together seamlessly, communicating with simple hand signals over the loud noise of the machinery. Slowly but surely, the massive jet engine is reduced to a pile of highly valuable exotic metal components ready for specialized recycling. We carefully load these precious titanium and inconel parts into secure transport containers to prevent them from getting lost in the sand. By the end of the second week, the once mighty Boeing airplane has been completely reduced to a massive pile of scrap. The empty space where the giant aircraft used to sit is now just another flat patch of hot sand in the desert. Now begins the final and most important phase of our operation, transporting the cleaned metal scrap to the industrial smelting facility nearby. A fleet of heavy dump trucks arrives at the site, ready to haul away the thousands of pounds of processed aluminum chunks. We use a massive wheel loader to scoop up the shiny metal pieces and carefully drop them into the waiting truck beds. The trucks travel in a long convoy across the dusty desert highway, carrying the final remains of the destroyed airplane away forever. At the recycling plant, the trucks dump their heavy loads into a massive concrete storage bunker, waiting next to the melting furnace. A giant magnetic crane sweeps over the pile, removing any stray pieces of steel that might have accidentally mixed with the aluminum. Purity is absolutely essential in this recycling process, as even a tiny amount of contamination can ruin the structural integrity of aluminum. The clean aluminum chunks are finally loaded into the massive rotary furnace, where temperatures reach over 1,000 degrees Celsius very quickly. We watch through a protective glass window as the solid metal pieces slowly begin to soften and melt into a glowing liquid. The intense heat of the furnace completely vaporizes any remaining traces of moisture or hidden impurities that survive the initial washing process. A specialized worker uses a long steel skimming tool to carefully remove the dark layer of slag floating on the liquid metal. This slag contains the very last microscopic remnants of the desert sand that completely destroyed the airplane just a few weeks ago. With the impurities finally removed, the bright, glowing river of pure liquid aluminum is carefully poured into a series of large molds. The molten metal flows smoothly, filling the heavy rectangular steel molds and slowly beginning the long process of cooling down and solidifying. As the aluminum cools, it transforms from a glowing orange liquid into solid, shiny silver blocks known as high-quality industrial ingots. These heavy ingots represent the ultimate successful conclusion of our incredibly difficult and challenging demolition project in the harsh Middle Eastern desert. The metal that once soared through the clouds at 40,000 feet has now been completely reborn and given a second life. These new aluminum blocks will soon be shipped to manufacturing plants around the world to be transformed into brand new, useful products. They might become car parts, building materials, or perhaps even components for a brand new airplane soaring into the sky once again. This entire process perfectly highlights the incredible importance of industrial recycling and sustainable resource management in our modern, rapidly changing global economy. By saving this metal from the desert, we prevent the need to mine thousands of tons of raw bauxite from the earth. It is a massive victory for the environment, achieved through hard physical labor and incredibly complex, heavy machinery working in perfect harmony. Looking back at the empty desert graveyard, it is hard to believe a massive airplane was sitting there just a month ago. Nature may have easily destroyed the complex machine with blowing sand, but human ingenuity allowed us to save the valuable raw materials. The relentless power of the environment is truly awe-inspiring, constantly reminding us that nothing we build will ever last completely forever. However, through careful recycling and dedication, we can ensure that the precious resources we extract are never truly wasted or lost entirely. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey from a ruined airplane in the desert to shiny new blocks of aluminum. Please subscribe to Demolition Worker for more amazing videos of heavy machinery destroying giant structures. See you in the next exciting episode.